Hi, guys.
Hi, happy Tuesday, and welcome to today's episode of Change School TV. Today we are talking about 6 stages of change, what they are, and hopefully it can help you to figure out where you are and things you can do to keep moving forward. So we know that anybody who's sort of gone through a change or is currently working on a change knows that it's not easy. It takes time, it takes persistence, it takes a lot of patience, and a lot of times a lot of times it's a process of sort of small wins and making progress, and then sometimes also having a couple steps backwards where you're sort of regressing a little bit. So that's normal. We
I know what I've done.
Okay, here we go. So we're talking about the different stages of change because we understand that it's sort of an up and down process, and we wanted to talk through James Prochaska. I hope I'm saying that right. He's a psychologist from the 1980s, and he was the one to put out this model that kind of talks about these 6 stages of change.
Yeah, so before, if those of you are here, we're still learning our tech side of things, but we can see that there's a few of you here already watching us. We're just trying to really understand how to see who it is and say hi, like we did last time. So, but first of all, happy Tuesday. We're just trying to really understand how. Sorry. We are getting better every
just slide
day.
it. Yeah, there we go.
So yeah, like Sol said, I guess today's session is really about the 6 stages of change, and the reason we're sort of talking about it is because everyone moves through the different stages. So we're going to have the recap of this on our blog. So it's just bit.ly/Change School TV 04 recap. So you can get all of our different episodes there, and we will post it on our Facebook page as well a little bit later. But if you have any comments or questions or things you want to say, hi Pinky. If you have any questions or comments that you want to say during our Facebook Live, feel free to do so, and we'll do our best to answer the questions or whatever, or just even say hi. So we're going to take you through an express version of each of the stages, bearing in mind that, we're on at lunchtime in Singapore, if those of you are watching us from Singapore. So sometimes, people are in a little bit of a rush. But you can, read everything on the blog, as we mentioned. So the first 2 stages of change that we're going to share is pre-contemplation and contemplation. So usually, if you're going through a period of change, you would start at pre-contemplation. So you've heard plenty of times maybe someone saying to you or your friends or your partner being like, you should really make a change.
Sure.
That's really at pre-contemplation stage, right? So you feel maybe resistant, but everyone is saying to you, you should try and make a change. Well, that's the pre-contemplation phase that you should really pay attention to, because that's when things start brewing, and that's when we need to pay a little bit more attention and reflect on where we are, what's sort of bothering us at the moment, and maybe it's for example, if it's something to do with career change, maybe you're feeling it's a bit too much at work. Or maybe you're feeling that you want to change, but it's not a real priority at the moment. You've got other things on your plate, or you feel it's just going to take too much time to even think about. So there may be a lack of sense of urgency in this pre-contemplation phase. So it's common for you to remain in this stage for some time. And some people, it takes a real sort of pivotal moment. Hi, Days. Sometimes it takes a real sort of pivotal moment to move you from pre-contemplation phase to even the next stage or further along in the cycle. It could be a major event. So for myself, it was something that was huge that caused me to really think about that next stage faster. And for Sol, it was a different trigger. So what we would suggest is when you're in this phase is start thinking about what are the ways that you can maybe just uncover a little bit more what's stopping you from moving forward and making the change. So the contemplation phase is the next stage. So after pre-contemplation, you move into contemplation. And that's when you're really probably starting to think about taking action. And some sort of action, right? Like whether it's a small piece of action that you're going to change tomorrow when you wake up, or that something has triggered you enough to go, you know what, I'm not happy where I am right now, and I want to do something about it, whether it's changing a habit or a new routine, or maybe your diet, or whatever it is, depending on the type of change that you're feeling. But maybe you don't know how to necessarily, so that's also where you can get stuck in the contemplation phase because you're just contemplating, right? Maybe you go on a silent retreat or something like that. So at this stage, you might not be actively seeking advice or feedback. And we have a lot of people who come to us at this point and tend to just want to, I guess, chat a little bit, not necessarily
do anything yet. And it takes a while for them to feel confident in making or taking that action. But, you know, where we do feel that advice and feedback is essential at this point, because sometimes it can make you really, I guess, move forward a lot faster. Yeah.
So this stage is all about becoming more aware and, you know, of the changes that you could make and how it could benefit you. So, however, there are concerns or doubts that most people can have during this stage, which is what tends to hold them back. So pre-contemplation and contemplation can sort of overlap.
Yeah, for sure.
And sometimes it's that lingering stage that a person is in. It could be years. It could be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 years. You could be in, you know, something in that phase for so long, right?
Yeah, and I think we see that a lot, right? And I think in a way, probably, again, personally, I would say I relate to that. Being somebody who tends to live in my head a lot. And so I think that's quite common, right? And if you watched our episode last week where we were talking about how to get unstuck, whether it's on a personal or a professional front, I think a lot of that has to do with this contemplation phase, right?
Exactly.
But there are things you can do. And so I'm going to share very quickly just 4 small things, simple things that you could do even tonight after work if you wanted. So it doesn't have to be something that you really pressure yourself about. If you are in contemplation phase, that's okay. It's part of the process. It's
Hi, Pre.
It's the early part of the process. And so here's some things you can do. So the simplest, easiest thing you can do is go out, buy yourself a nice new swanky journal and make it your best friend. You know, getting thoughts down to paper, which we always talk about, is so, so important. Don't confuse, you know, the contemplation that's going on with your head with thinking and processing, because they're not the same. And even though it seems like you're being productive thinking, it's actually much more productive to put your ideas on paper, read through them if you're comfortable. If not, it's also okay. It's just good. That cathartic process of writing will help you to get so much more clarity, even if it's 5 minutes a day to say, here's how my day was, here's a highlight, here's a not such a high. So something like that, but using your journal can be super powerful. The second thing you could do is create a vision board, and that's something I love doing. We both love doing. We've done a number of workshops in the past with different communities to help them create vision boards.
And it doesn't just have to be for the ladies. I know we have a lot more women support, you know, usually watching us or in our database as well, but men do it too.
Oh, I do it with my husband.
We won't name drop, but we know lots of men that do it.
Sorry, Sam, I just exposed you. But we do. It's actually a really cool activity that we like to do. We do it about quarterly. And, you know, you can do, if you're married or you have a partner, you could do it together. We like to do them individually. And it's just nice to have something visual. Sometimes it's hard to just spit out what you want or what you're thinking about, but maybe you can create that vision in a visual way. And I think the beauty of having a vision board is it's like something tangible, something you can feel and touch. You can pin it up somewhere so it's the first thing you see every morning, or it could just be something you have in front of you in your workspace to remind you why you're doing what you're doing, and where you're trying to go.
And you can take a photo of it if you're like more digital, right? So you can take a photo of it, put it on your phone as your screen, whatever, saver, or on your computer, right?
Exactly. Totally. And if you guys want some inspiration, I think we have photos, right, of a lot of the vision boards we did in our workshop, so you can just message us and we can send that to you just to have an idea of the different types of vision boards that you can make.
Yeah.
So vision boards are great. Third thing you can do, another super easy one, is a pros and cons list. I think all of us know how to make one, but we probably don't always think about how useful it can be, especially when we're stuck on decisions, right? So even if you're deciding, like, do I want to date this person? Or, what am I going to eat tomorrow? I mean, it can be something super simple. It doesn't have to be something heavy all the time. But that then allows you to kind of really quickly see, okay, do the sort of list of pros outweigh the list of cons or vice versa. Whatever it is, it should help to inform and guide you to make a decision that makes sense. And last but not least, another super simple one is just talking to people. And I think this is something we say in almost everything that we're doing, right, is that importance of connecting with other people. And whether it's finding someone who's experiencing a similar change or transition that you're thinking about or going through, or whether it's somebody who's already done it, it's so good because then they can share like their experiences, maybe tools that they're using, resources they've discovered that can, one, save you a lot of like work and stress trying to find it, but also have someone to kind of talk to, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of these things are simple tools and methods, but that's the thing, is sometimes when we're going through these periods of change, our head is so clouded by the problem or what we think is the problem that we forget about some of the most simplest ways for us to sort of move through, right?
Yeah.
Or even just start dissecting it. So stage 3, so we've had pre-contemplation and contemplation. So those are the tools, or ways that we can sort of move through some of that. Stage 3 is preparation. So in this stage, most people are really ready to make a change. They're sort of just preparing themselves even more. So it's like grooming yourself to make that change, right? So I don't know how many of you that are watching us are at which stage of change, but it'd be really interesting when, at the end of today's episode, just to start thinking about, if you are going through change, where are you in this change cycle? But in this stage, you're usually a lot more decisive. So you know that you want to make a change. You don't necessarily know how to make the change, but you're preparing in a way that's going to set you up for success, right? So whatever ways it is, you're dedicated to taking action, and you're just trying to get all your ducks in a row, pretty much, right? So here you might be like researching online, you might be coming to the change school, you might be, just meeting with us for coffee or whatever it is, or you're out there gathering information, gathering different tools and resources, or maybe even exploring some self-assessments. Hi, Prasoon. Thanks so much for all of you guys joining us live. It's really cool to see you all here. So this is when you're sort of gathering the tools to support and implement that phase of change or moving forward, right? So you're usually planning your micro steps in order to get to a bigger goal, but you might not know your bigger goal. Right?
Yeah.
So to move forward, we've just closed like a first round of, for example, people who were wanting to move into a new career or find their next career. They enrolled, or they would have been preparing by enrolling in our Bold Career course online, right? So that's just an example. So we've just closed the round for that. So we have, our first batch or first cohort starting this evening.
Tonight. Super excited.
So that's an example of the type of tool, or like Sol said, finding people or joining an online group or an offline group, meetups, or engaging a life coach, or using some sort of assessment tool that enables you to get a better understanding of yourself and your strengths and your weaknesses, right?
Yeah.
Or buying a membership for even a gym, right? Depending on what type of a change you're looking for, or a health coach or a nutritional coach or whatever it is, right? So preparation is stage 3. Stage 4.
Stage 4 is where it gets pretty exciting because you're moving from preparation into action. So hopefully in the preparation phase, you're building momentum, you're lining your ducks up, you're equipped, locked and ready to go. And so action is all about implementation. And the beauty of this phase is that you are simultaneously sort of strengthening your commitment. You know, in a sense, that it's not going to be a smooth journey, hopefully consistently progressive, but it won't always be smooth. You might have some setbacks. You might run into some pitfalls. And so in the preparation phase, hopefully you have a better idea of how to manage that. And in the action phase, it's just moving forward. And even if you do sort of fall back, it's okay. It's room for improvement. It's room for, refinements, right? I think definitely, it makes me think back to sort of when I was quitting smoking. So I decided to kind of put it out there to the whole world on Instagram, and I was actioning every single day because I wanted to, at the same time I was training to do a Spartan race, but I felt like the only way I would keep actioning was if I made it public and I made people kind of hold me accountable. Now, it's a fail, but we'll get to the failure later and how to deal with that. But the point is that when you are actioning, you are constantly looking with a view to keep improving. And ideally, trying to think about habits, starting to think about habits you can start creating and integrating into everyday life.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think, everything with change starts with about implementing new routines or new habits and that sort of stuff, right? Because otherwise we just stay where we are. So the stage 5 of the cycle of change is maintenance. And actually this is probably one of the hardest stages because it's like sustaining yourself in this period of change or in this stage of where you sort of like taken all this time to get there, but now it's like, say, quitting smoking. That's a huge one, right? Or even losing weight or any of those sort of things that take so much determination. It's also like with businesses, right? You can start a business, but how do you sustain a business? So in this stage, that's where really rituals, routines, habits, all of those things need to be set up to get you even more, I guess, like further ahead in being comfortable in this period or in this, phase of the stage of change, right? Mm-hmm. So usually you're going to run into challenges because maybe you're so used to doing something a certain way, right? And to shift your mindset is one thing, but then to change your actions behavioral change takes so much time and takes so much energy mentally and physically that sometimes it's okay to, have a hiccup here and there, like you're smoking, right?
But it's also life happens,
totally.
right? Life happens, or like with a morning routine. I was trying to create a morning routine some time ago, and I was doing really well because you get really excited right when you first start. I especially do. I'm always like, today I'm doing this. And first 3 days you have success, and so you feel like, okay, I can do this. It's super easy. And then you have to travel for work. Or you have house guests, or whatever happens, right? Life happens. And then that can disturb the new routine or the ritual that you're trying to build. And then it's okay sometimes if you have a hiccup, like you said, but then sometimes also if it extends for a longer period of time, then you feel like you're starting over. So that can happen, and it can feel frustrating, but it's totally normal, and you just pick up and continue.
And I think also, right, like with the maintenance side of things, like I know for me, any habits or routines. Hi, Suzanne. I know any habits or routines. For me, I tend to go in 6-month cycles. So I change and I have a whole new system, or I have a whole new sort of like method or routine or ritual or whatever it is. And then I'll let some of it go and I'll shift into a whole new, maybe like 2 or 3 steps will change, right? And I tend to adjust because I get bored with things too. So it's also trying to think about, like, when you're maintaining, how is it best for you based on who you know you are and how you work, right? So we all learn differently. We all do things differently. We're just sort of taking you through these different stages of change and giving you some actions that you could do. However, like our theory of change, which is something that we always refer to, is once you have a better understanding of yourself, right, and have clarity of who you are and the way that you work or think about things or learn, the better you're going to be equipped in these moments of change and remain resilient and in a state of flow. So I know that for me, 6 months is my time limit for a lot of things, and then I need to shift because I get bored, right? So for those of you that are in this maintenance stage, right, something I would suggest is try and create like a tracking system.
Yeah.
You know,
so
like
important.
Something simple where you just have Post-its maybe, or, you know, just bullets, or use a bullet journal style or something, right? Like just a tracking mechanism, whatever way that is, to monitor how often you're making the change, whether it's daily, whether it's like, if it's food, maybe have a food journal, right? Things like that. And monitor your progress, right? And then reflect on your journey and go, what's been working, what hasn't worked, and why? And are you okay with that? And if you're okay with it, then, you know, sort of move forward.
Yeah.
And if you're not, then look at how can I make it better so that I can ensure that I can maintain or sustain my change, right? Because you're the only one who's going to know what's going to work. No matter how many books you read, no matter how many courses you go on, right? Like, we always say this, we're only there to provide the support and the guidance, but we can't do it for you.
Yeah,
right?
No one can change you, unfortunately.
Yeah, like, I mean, you know, we've definitely had some people there who think that we can change
Helen.
you. Hi! So, when you're looking at maintenance, just think about how has it been for you, reflect, track, right? Review, evaluate, etc. And the key, again, is accountability. Right. So in every stage, I think having some sort of accountability.
And I think a lot of, just on that note, I think a lot of people have shared with us, you know, whether it was at our gym classes or by email, they're always like, I know what I need to do, or some of them are, I know what I need to do. I need someone to help remind me or to hold me accountable. And even we had a coach, we'd worked with a coach earlier before as well for the same reason. I mean, we knew the work we had to do. We weren't asking her to do it for us, but it was more that she could help to remind us that, okay, you said you wanted to do this last week. How's that going? And if it's not progressing as quickly as you wanted, why not? And how can you make adjustments? So sometimes we just need that added support. Okay, so final stage. So according to, I know I'm going to butcher his name again, Prochaska, according to Prochaska, the sixth stage is termination. But I'm going to deviate a little bit and talk about, I guess, two divergent directions you can go in the sixth stage. So one is termination. And what that is about actually sounds really horrible, but it's not meant. So by termination, what he's saying is that once you've maintained a behavioral change or a new habit for 2 years, I would say, okay, minimum 1 year, then you at that point can kind of decide, right? I mean, you know for a fact that at that point, regression or relapsing is not going to happen. You've kind of gotten over that temptation to fall back into old habits. So you can either choose to further refine and make it better, or you might say, okay, I want to work on the next thing. So that's kind of what he terms as termination. But the other possibility is that you do relapse, and that's definitely what happened with me in the case of my smoking. But the point here is that it's not about beating yourself up. And I think that is something that, you know, as people, we have that natural tendency to do. And the reason I want to emphasize this so much is because we don't realize what a negative impact that can have within ourselves. You know, if you're constantly saying, okay, I suck, or what a fail, or it's not worth it because it's so hard, you will eventually like adopt that mindset in a longer term, you know? So I think the key with relapse and moving out of that sort of stage is really using that as an opportunity to examine what happened, what's triggering you. So I'm going to use the smoking example because it's an easier one. Anybody who has ever smoked would know, like, you know, sometimes the issue is, okay, you read. Sometimes the issue is that, you know, once you're in a social situation or, you know, you're out having fun or having a drink or something, then that might be your trigger. And then that can inform you for the next time or for the next day, what are you going to do differently? How do you avoid those triggers, or how do you overcome that temptation so that you don't relapse again?
Totally. Hi, Leon. I think just what you shared is so true. Sorry, we're just trying to read it with the reflection.
Yeah, I know.
Basically, I mean, for those of you that probably can read it too, but it says, thanks for sharing great theories and advice. The understanding of individual psychology is very important to kick change into reality. and to keep the momentum rolling along with as little negative emotional impact as possible.
Exactly.
Keep it real. So, yeah, absolutely,
Totally.
right? Thanks for sharing. And Leon does some really interesting images and illustrations.
Yeah, from our shifters group, right?
Yeah, so if those of you that are watching are going through a career change, we have a free we have a free career shifters group where we sort of just share a little bit of information, sometimes some job openings or whatever, but Leon is in there and does share some great illustrations. So yeah, I guess the 6 stages of change, the reason we wanted to share it is because most often when people are going through change, they don't know what stage they're in. And actually that's really sometimes the toughest because you feel stuck. So back to our episode last week, right? Like, how do you get unstuck? That's one thing. But a lot of times it's really just trying to understand where are you in this phase of change or in the cycle of change, and then how do you move forward? So, contemplation, pre-contemplation, contemplation,
Preparation, action, maintenance,
and then,
termination or relapse. Or you've won, or you've fallen back a little bit, and that's okay.
Yeah, exactly. Or you've, learned enough from that period, and you have taken what you need to then move forward into the next stage, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So, okay, I mean, all of our episodes are usually about 30 minutes, just to give you a little dose, a little bit of bite-sized information, and to, kickstart your journey in whatever shape or form it does, as well as provide you with some tools, resources, some of our own stories, I guess, and if you ever want to share with us, feel free to do so as well. We want to try and, build this up each week and make it as engaging as we can. So if we really suck, just let us know as well. But hopefully this helps you to understand the different stages and maybe identify the stage that you might be in.
And so the link that we've got over here is for today's worksheet. So every episode we always try to provide a free worksheet so that you can actually take away what we've shared and do something with it. So today's worksheet, if you click on that link, there's a downloadable PDF, and hopefully it can help you to kind of self-identify where on the change journey you're at, and a simple step that you can take forward in addition to some of the things we said today. Okay, I'm super excited. I've been holding on to this for a really long time. And so we decided today to share a little secret that we've been keeping for a while we've been...
A really long time,
yeah. We've had some hiccups.
For a while.
Hey, not back burner. We just... we were having some issues. But anyway, we're here now, and we are soon to be launching officially, ta-da, our change planner. So this is going to be available on Amazon pretty soon, probably in a month or two, let's say.
You know.
Yeah, we'll be making a lot of noise about it.
Thanks, Days.
But this is it, and the aim with the Change Planner is really to help anybody who is going through any type of change to plan it, to visualize it, to track, monitor, review, reflect, pretty much everything that we're always going on and on about, packed in here for you, carefully designed. I'm not gonna show too much, but there's a lot of good stuff in here.
We're gonna share with you.
Well, we'll share lots, and we'll share our site.
Yeah, we've got it. We're just working on a landing page. Hi, Pinky. We're just working on the landing page. Well, it's already ready, but we just don't want to bombard you with too many links, right?
In addition to all the emails. Sorry, guys.
We've been having, but we're just going through a huge shift ourselves at the Change School, and we're okay. We just own it, and Anyways, for the Change Planner, there will be a link that you can register your early interest, and we will let you know as soon as it comes out. And obviously, any feedback, once you get it, send it our way.
The more the merrier, because this will be our first iteration. Yeah,
totally.
So it'll be great to have your feedback, actually.
And for those of you that missed out on our career change course, this one was open to a limited number of people because it was our first iteration as well online, really. But we've got an amazing cohort starting, and we did have some people that wanted to join, so we've opened a wait list for when we do the next one. So we'll also share that on our Facebook page. And
Yep.
if you're not on our newsletter, subscribe through our website, or drop us a line via Facebook Messenger or hello@thechangeschool.com.
Yep.
So don't forget to read the recap. If you can't understand anything we just said in this video and you think that we're talking too fast or our accents are just funny, right?
Your accent's funny.
You can watch us on this replay. And then next week, we're going to be back next week. So 12:30 next Tuesday.
Same time, same channel.
Yeah. And don't forget to download our worksheets.
Yes, and do check out our blog post on this, which will be up on Wednesday, because there's a lot of links in there around like vision boarding and some of the other
And not just our links, other
ideas.
people's links.
Oh yeah, no, they're not ours.
Yeah. Heaps of other people's links. So, I mean, of course we're sharing some of our information, but tons of other people.
Yeah, for sure, because there's lots out there.
Yeah, and if there's a specific episode that you might want as well, just drop us a line, right? Like,
Yeah,
if there's something
or
in
they can
particular.
find it on YouTube as well.
Yeah, or if they want us to do like something for future.
Ah, yes.
Any suggestions? Awesome. Great to see all the thumbs up, guys. We don't know how to do a thumbs up other than like to give you our thumbs up, but
Thanks for joining. Happy Tuesday again.
yeah, we'll see you next week.
Ciao!
Bye.